When I get a new client in, I sell 9 out of 10 of my clients. I don't sell them, I inform them of the facts, and the facts sell themselves. I sell the benefits of what we're doing. My resting heart rate this morning was 37, which is about a stroke away from not beating, I think. When
Yeah.
I go to the doctor, I always tell the doctor, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna be really, really low, so don't panic," because I had a nurse try to call an ambulance on me while I'm in the doctor's office. So all those things, though, they're benefits of what happens to us when we train properly. Lawrence, here's the thing. These guys are getting strong. It's crazy with one 15-minute workout a week. It's just insane how this stuff works. No one believes it.
Lawrence Still here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for growing your hit business and fueling your passion for high-intensity training. This is episode 516, and today we welcome back Steve McKinney. Super excited about this. Steve is a first-class certified personal trainer, jiu-jitsu black belt, pastor, and owner of Fitness and More, if that's not enough. Fitness and More, a personal training studio offering one-on-one workouts using the 3W approach to fitness. Steve has been in the fitness industry for over 30 years, winning various bodybuilding and fitness awards, and has personally supervised over 150,000 workouts. And today we are talking about his new book, which has taken the personal training industry and the rest of the world by storm: The Gospel of Fitness, a rational approach to aging gracefully. Steve, great to see you.
Lawrence, you're one of my favorites. So I love what you do.
I
Love
am your
interviews.
favorite, Steve.
You are. You're out there. My son has a podcast, so he might be up there too.
Oh, yeah.
But I always love doing there, and I love the taking the world by storm. That's funny. But yeah, it's just been crazy. It's been fun. What I'm dealing with. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I love our group. I love what you're doing to spread the word. I'm trying to do the same thing on Rational Fitness, so I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, a small amount of exaggeration, but it kind of feels that way. It kind of feels like the reaction to this book has been way bigger than I think you probably expected.
By far, and Lawrence, no one's been mad about it. No one has had a good argument against what we do, and I
Mhm.
kind of explain it in a very simple fashion. But it's been so much fun. I've done interviews. I've had a book tour. I've done interviews. I've had 1,500 people at one of the things, and so I'm like going, I've signed autographs for 2.5 hours. I'm like, who would want me to sign their book? Is my, that's my problem. Like, I'm I'm a nobody, and so I'm having fun with it. I just get a kick out of it. So
So
yeah,
cool.
just ride the wave.
So deserved, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Let's just
Thank you.
front load this with a few results. So,
Yeah.
firstly, what was the goal for you? Why did you write the book?
Yes. Lawrence, you and I have talked about this, and you've always told me, Steve, you chase shiny objects, and I know that's true, but I also know I have ADHD, and so I don't think it's been diagnosed. Yeah, so for me, I use that to my advantage, and so what I mean by that is I'm always like I have my baseline on my business, but I'm always doing. I love to just do other stuff, and so the goal really I didn't really have a goal, honestly. This just came about. But has it made a difference in my personal training business? Because what I do is I'll do a couple of I'm really good at public speaking. At least I think I am. But I'll do like some local business. Just did the Rotary Club last week, and it was my smallest one. There were 17 people there. Out of that 17, I get 5 new clients. I got another one set up. The local thing has been amazing. The international thing, because I've been on podcasts from India. I do a ton of podcasts now, and I just did 2 yesterday. I have 5 this week, and so yeah, I don't even know what the goal is other than, hey, I just want to get my brand out there and see what happens. And so I'm just riding a wave, so to speak. But obviously, we want our businesses to grow, and that's kind of the secondary factor that kind of happened. It's kind of like the business grew by osmosis. But I also know if you get me in front of people, and I've told you this a lot,
Yeah.
when I get a new client in, I sell 9 out of 10 of my clients. I don't sell them, I inform them of the facts, and the facts sell themselves. I sell the benefits of what we're doing. And so, yeah, so that's kind of how this thing has played out.
Yeah, because your strength, as you said, there is the public speaking, and I think when we work together, it's I've noticed that's a strength that you perhaps should focus on and try to create more opportunities around getting in front of groups of people. So
Yes.
this book has been great for you in terms of opening up more opportunities like that,
Absolutely.
helping you excel at your strength.
Well, yeah, and let me just give you a little backstory of how it happened. I years ago, you know, I you were introduced this. I'm a pastor. I've always helped local pastors, trained a lot of local pastors for free just because I know how hard that job. It's a horrible job. It's a really hard, it's a great job, but it's a horrible job. You have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows in it. So I've always tried to help them. Well, I was at a conference 10 years ago. One of my friends was there. He's a pastor. And he said, Steve, I know you're a trainer. Can you take me through a workout? So I took him through my version of what we do. And he's like, that's the best workout I've ever been through in my life. And so anyway, he would always ask me questions. I was on his podcast, and one day he was asking me questions, and his name's Pete. I said, Pete, listen, I've written a book. I'm 90% done. And he goes, well, that's really odd. I have a small publishing company. Send me your book. We want to see if we want to work with you. So he scanned it, looked at it. He goes, yeah, he goes, we'd love to work with you on this. Well, then when I looked at the book, because I was just writing the book actually for my clients, I have a private little Facebook group. I was just going to throw my ideas out there. It's everything that I've been doing for years, the same thing. So when I reread it, I'm like, man, I don't know how to write a book. I literally do not know how to write a book, but I know how to write a sermon, and I'm good at public speaking. So the book is an HIT sermon. That's the way I would describe it. It's put in a real logical order. I put it in different, I'm a storyteller. And so I made sure my writing conventions were consistent. All the stories
What is
where I
that? Is
tell
that a book or what is that?
yeah, the book that I'm talking about the book that I wrote. So the writing
Yeah, but you said you use I'm a storyteller, or what was that
yeah,
a tool or what is that?
no, I tell stories in the book.
Oh, sorry, just talking about your own approach. Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
my approach.
Yep.
And so every story is italicized. I tried to stay super consistent. I illustrate every exercise. I tried not to go too deep with like things like time under tension, but I touch on those things. I mean, you know, it's been interesting, but I haven't had honestly, I haven't had any negatives on it. Everybody who's read it, they've just said, man, this is just so logical and makes so much sense. And then the beauty also is when you go do speaking, I love to do a presentation and then open it up for Q&A. And then in the Q&A, what I do is I run all my questions through my framework of the 3W approach to fitness. So I can answer those questions based on that framework. So it just kind of, I mean, I'm in front of 1,000 people, just open it up to say, ask me any question you want. And so that's what's
Yeah.
been fun in the
What
middle
is
of
the
it.
three W's again?
It's weight training, walking, and watching your diet. And so the
Okay.
easiest way to remember it is if you don't have a broken finger from jujitsu, it makes it a little more doable. But you hold up 3 fingers and it makes a W. It's weight training, walking, and watching your diet. And then what I do is I explain the benefits of every little thing in the middle of that. And then what I also do is I use a lot of the background. I'd seen you had posted in our group about just you have body by science and remembering, you know, the
Mm.
functionality of the muscles. I explain all of those things, why we do what we do, using time under tension, the 4 muscle fiber typings, you know, slow oxidative, fast oxidative, glycolytic, and fast glycolytic, and how they are fatigued in sequential order. And then the goal of getting to that fast glycolytic, I explain that. And within 2 to 20 seconds, that muscle bundle is stimulated, but it also takes 4 to 10 days for that muscle bundle to recover. And then I cite some of John Little's work where he did the bod pod, and then how long it took for actual muscle growth to happen, and the average in the middle of that, and then the extremes. Some people took up to 17 days or 18 days to actually grow muscle. So all those things, just when you put them all together, I also use one of the big things that I've learned is Doug's um, uh, title, Cardio Doesn't Exist, which really offends people, but they don't have an argument against it because you're talking about stroke volume at the time of that. So I just kind of explain in a layman's terms, because Doug's so smart. You know what I'm saying? They're just so over my head, but I can understand what they're saying, and I put it in layman's terms. For example, I remember years ago when I started weight training, Tom Platz said this. He says, if you train your legs, it's like training a tree. If you train the big part of the tree, the branches grow. And he also said that your heart will be healthier. And that was a prerequisite 30 years ago of training your legs hard to increase stroke volume. I didn't know what he was talking about, but I do know this. I measure my oxygen levels and my heart rate every morning. That'll give me an idea. See, I don't measure a lot of things, but that gives me an idea of where I'm at, stress level. My resting heart rate this morning was 37, which is about a stroke away from not beating, I think. When
Yeah.
I go to the doctor, I always tell the doctor, hey, listen, I'm going to be really, really low. So don't panic, because I had a nurse try to call an ambulance on me while I'm in the doctor's office. So all those things, though, they're benefits of what happens to us when we train properly. And Lawrence, at 64, as I was telling you, just went to a jujitsu seminar where I'm 20 years uh, older than everyone else. We trained 4 hours on Saturday, 4 hours on Sunday. And I'm still in the game, still being able to train with those guys. I benefit what we do and the principles of the book in the middle of that. And all those things, they benefit my business. They really do help me in business. I could just see the change in business. Your branding is higher. People are there's a level of respect that goes along with that.
Mhm.
And so, I've had people, I have a guy coming in tomorrow. His parents were in another state. They sent him a book and they said, hey, go see this guy. And so I'm getting a
So
lot
cool.
of that. I just had
Yeah.
an online guy did his before and after picture from the book alone. And he looks fantastic. So all those things are just slowly coming together. And as I said before, I have no idea what I'm doing in the middle of this. I do some research, but I'm clueless. But I've always just been a person who I'm like, okay, I see the bone. I'm going to grab onto that bone and let's see where it takes me. I may fail miserably. I've failed in a lot of adventures, but what the heck? I'm still in the game.
Definitely making me rethink that shiny object thing, to be honest. You're referring to that picture I shared in our private high intensity business group with a stack of books. I should have your book on there for
Yeah.
the next
Yeah.
one.
Everyone should. Right? Everyone should. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just while we're on the topic, obviously, if people are interested in joining yourself and many of our colleagues and helping you build a successful strength training business, please go to score.com/high-intensity-business. If you can't remember that, just click any link where you're watching this and you can start a free trial.
And honestly, what you do is gold. It really is. I appreciate your work, Lawrence. You are helping what I call my book has a subtitle of a rational approach to aging gracefully. And you are helping people so much in the middle of that. I just love it. I love what everyone's doing. I love our group of people. I just admire people from afar. I just see that and I'm like, man, this is so cool, because in the middle of that, and we can talk about this as well, there's so many myths. There's so many myths out there. When I do,
Yeah.
you just wouldn't believe, um, what people think in the middle of it. It's crazy to me.
I guess now that you've been exposed to so many people in these, people queuing up for your autograph and doing Q&As of you, I mean, you see this on a certain scale in your studio, right? Someone comes in for a free workout and they tell you about their challenges and what they've been doing. But now you're probably seeing an even bigger scale and you're like, oh my God, people are still thinking about exercise in this way. Is that what you see? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's
Mm.
like, oh, exercise to lose body fat. I'm like, no, no, no. What you're doing is you're creating a cortisol response, and cortisol is catabolic. And what it does, it eats away muscle tissue. It promotes extra body fat, because what you then do is you have a constant level of cortisol there. And then what you're doing is you're going home and you overeat because you're so stressed from the middle of that. Now, is cortisol important in what we do? Of course. I remember years ago, remember Brian Johnston?
Yeah.
I always loved Brian. He was an outside the box thinker, and I really,
Yeah.
really liked him as well. And there was a supplement. It was an anti-cortisol supplement for after a workout. And I just remember thinking, wait a minute. And Brian Johnson had mentioned this, and that's why I reference him. But I was thinking, wait a minute, cortisol is part of the response of muscle building or hypertrophy after the workout. We don't want to reduce that. But what we want to do is we want to lower cortisol in all other areas so that we're not stressed all the time. The stress is what's destroying people's body. And then, Lawrence, going into that, you add that extra exercise. And then what you're seeing, and I see this is probably the most common thing that I see: joint problems. Joint problems from excessive exercise, running, CrossFit, throwing weights. You see, and I was on a podcast with a DO. The guy was a really nice guy, very muscular guy, and 50 years old. I'm explaining time under tension. I'm explaining how we get to the point of stimulating muscle. I'm explaining two 15-minute workouts a week. And he's a 5-day a week, hour at a time workout. I'm like, bro, that's like a part-time job. And so I'm explaining
Great
this
way of
stuff.
putting it.
Yeah, I'm explaining it to him. And at the end of the podcast, he goes, hey, man, he goes, I'm 50 years old and my joints are killing me. He goes, I'm going to take up and look at your approach. I go, your joints aren't going to get any better. And once your joints are hurting and once they get destroyed, there's the only way to fix those is by replacing them. And that is not what we want. We want to be able to recover. We want to have good mobility. We want to have really good joint health as we age. But if you're out there running, you're out there doing all this stuff, those knees are going to start falling apart. Now, some people love to run, but I always say those people, Lawrence, they get away with it. They get away with it, if that makes sense. Not everyone can get away with it, because right when people get to that 35 to 40-year-old age and they're continually pounding those joints, that's when it starts falling apart. And once again, there are people who can work around that. But anyway, I'm ranting, but this is kind of
fascinating.
Yeah, this is the stuff that I'm learning.
How many clients so far has the book brought to you, directly or indirectly, do you think, roughly?
About a dozen.
Great. Yeah.
And so, Lawrence, here's where I'm at. I think I wrote this down. Let me look if I did it. Right now, we're doing, because you're a numbers guy, and I'm just a random guy. But yeah, I get it. So I do, right now, it's brought me new online. I'm doing 11 to 13 online clients personally. I probably do about 45 in-person sessions per week. I do all of our sales. Our trainers are at 106 sessions per week. Then I have a second business that's in a business that I've had for years, and we probably do about 20 or 30 more per week there, but that's not a big.
Is that another personal training facility? But another.
It is. So, yeah, it's at a business, and I've had it for years. It's actually at a church. They have a large staff, and I trained their pastors over there before. And what happened is I went to train one of the pastors at a Vic Tanny. And when I was training him, I didn't know you weren't supposed to do that. We were just kind of training together, but I was instructing him. Well, I got called into the manager's office after, and they kicked me out of Vic Tanny permanently for doing that. I'm like, hey, I've been kicked out of better gyms than this, man. So, so anyway, what we did then was, the guy asked me, he goes, hey, do you think he goes, we have an extra space. Do you think you could duplicate what you do? And they gave me like a $10,000 budget. And I found a Nautilus 2 ST line, Kevlar belt driven, probably 15 pieces of equipment for $99.95. And so I've been training those guys for years. I send my trainers over to do that. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. But business is doing good. So what I'm doing with business now, Lawrence, is I don't advertise too much because we're pretty full, but I want I want to fill every single session that I can
And make it more efficient, basically, right?
and make it
Yeah.
more efficient because my branding, my niche is just that one-to-one private. I don't like to do groups. I do one group session a week for all my jujitsu guys because we train on Saturday. So I have about 10 people in and they do a 15-minute workout before we train. I've done that for years just to help those guys out, but it's all HIT, but it's just not nuanced enough where I instruct every single thing that people do. I just give them a general guideline. But Lawrence, here's the thing. These guys are getting strong. It's crazy with one 15-minute workout a week. It's just insane how this stuff works. No one believes it. They just don't until they experience it. A guy named Ron, he's an older guy, and he came in and he had shingles and it settled in his shoulder and he couldn't lift his shoulder. And I started training him over a year ago, and I had him come in and do 2 sessions a week. And on the second session, I'm like, Ron, you're not recovering from this session. I said, let's switch you back to 1 session a week. So we did that. A year later, Lawrence, lifting his arm over his head. He's like, this is the most incredible thing. And so, but it's so counterintuitive. You know, it's just how it works. I had a guy come in, a 5-day-a-week guy. He was in, he came in last week and he said, hey, I like to work out 5 days a week, but I just heard about you and wanted to try it. And I know that that's a challenge. Lawrence, it takes me 2 exercises. It takes me a Nautilus clamshell ab machine to start.
Right. Yeah.
And a pull down. I have a Drew Bay bar with the angle is different. I have him do a pull
That's
down.
not a Drew Bay bar.
Well, that's
You're
what he
giving him
calls
a lot of credit there.
or whoever.
Isn't the brand something? I can't remember the.
No,
Oh, maybe it is his. Maybe it is his.
It is.
Yeah.
It's the one he
Oh,
designed.
fair enough. Oh, he designed it, did he? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, and so it's got a perfect little angle. And so anyway, after those 2 exercises, he looked at me and I go, hey, do you kind of understand what we do now? And he goes, oh yeah. And so anyway, he quit the 5-day-a-week and he's been coming in. So it's, once again, that's a way to build my business. And I have another business coming up because I'm kind of busy. So it's kind of hard to get to those businesses, but we're looking at a Tuesday to get there and do a group of, there'll be 20 people, but I'll get 3 or 4 people out of that group to come into the gym. So I'm slowly filling those places up.
Sorry, is that okay? So that's another corporate speaking or public speaking opportunity. I see.
Correct. And it's right across town here.
Yeah.
So the local speaking things always get me business. And I got to get better with my, I got to do some website changing, I think, for online stuff. Once again, I'm just riding the wave and I can see where I'm.
Yeah, because you're doing some virtual training. You mentioned the online stuff. That's real time. Is that like
Correct.
actually training people? Yeah, because you guys went through. I know you went through the virtual training course and you found that useful, and then implemented that, right, to an extent.
And I do that. I do that a lot. I have people in Maryland. I have people in Alabama. I had somebody in California before the big fire hit and they burned their house down, so I lost that client through there. But I have clients all over through the online thing as well. So I try to, once again, put them in a little, a little hour or 2 session and then go back to back with that.
Nice.
So
yeah, you definitely want to get that book on your homepage of your website. And it's great for your credibility, right? It will certainly, I suspect it will help with just lead generation, conversion, getting people to take action. It's just, best-selling author, that kind of thing. So
that's what I'm looking at those things too, and just trying to work behind the scenes on that while still doing these things. And so trying to, I'm pretty good, actually, believe it or not, at maximizing my time. It's like when I was writing the book, I sent the stuff over to the publisher and he said, Steve, you write in like 1 sentence, you write a sentence and then you skip a line or 2 and then you write another, maybe a little short paragraph. He goes, but when you write like that, it means that everything you're saying is important. And I go, yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not going to fill, everything I say is important. Everything has meaning. And that's why, Lawrence, that I can do 15-minute workouts, because everything is nuanced and every single thing I do is efficient. Every set is efficient. Every set has smooth turnarounds. It has, good pauses. We're looking at that muscular failure without panicking. All those things, all those things matter.
Mm.
And that's why it can be so efficient. I use the global metabolic conditioning idea. I go from set to set without any rest between sets. And then I do antagonistic muscle groups. I'll do a push and a pull. So you get a secondary benefit in the middle of that, with some heart health. That's why you don't have to do cardio. And that's how I approach my 3W approach to fitness, which I can explain that as well.
Yeah, I love, I mean, well, I think you also explained it in our last podcast, actually, quite in some depth. But I do love that you have a simple model like that, because it makes it so easy for your prospect to understand what to do. Because if you're using that framework, whenever you're answering those questions, as you mentioned there at the events, it gives people like a simple framework to follow then. It's like, oh, okay, so that fits in this W. Okay, and then I just have to do these other two things. Oh, that's simple to understand, which I think is great. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you look at exercise, weight training has one particular goal, and that's to get me stronger.
Mhm.
That's what we use it for. We don't use it to get better, sports specific training, all that kind of stuff. I'm like going, oh my gosh, this is the stuff that you deal with. And you try not to be, too overly aggressive when you're answering those questions. But when I'll get those questions, I'm just like, no, the only thing specific to your sport is your sport. You don't study math to take an English test. So weight training has a specific purpose. Watching your diet has a specific purpose, and that is to reach body fat levels. Body fat levels are controlled primarily by dietary intake. And I'm a count your calorie thing. And people's like, oh no, you don't count your calories. I'm like, no, you do. If you can't measure it, you can't adjust it.
Mhm.
So all those things are just, it's just, to me, it's just common sense. And because the plethora of information on the internet with influencers who most likely are on performance enhancing drugs and they have a genetic advantage, they're given information based on their look, not based on a lot of times knowledge. And when you're an influencer in that way, Lawrence, you have to throw a lot of different things out. You have to come up with new content. I'm saying the same thing on every podcast. I don't go wider, I go deeper with
Yeah, I
what we're
love
doing.
that.
I simplify it.
Yeah. People
So
need to be reminded more than need to be taught. So keep doing that, please.
yeah,
We all
thank you.
appreciate it. Who's excellent at delivering that tact? Doug McGuff, no surprise. Dr. Doug McGuff, when you watch him in seminars when someone asks a stupid question, and hey, nothing wrong with stupid questions. I ask plenty of them on
Me
this
too.
podcast. But it's the way he does it so well, so respectfully and so tactfully, that really, I think, wins not only that person, but everyone viewing over as well. It also helps that he's an absolute genius, but it's the combination of that kind of, I guess you could call it like emotional intelligence and knowledge that kind of like combine.
Super sensitive to people.
Right.
I love Doug McGough.
And I can see how you're great at that too, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. I really enjoy him. I listen to him all the time. I love Darden. Yeah, I just love our community. I mean, obviously we have, we all have crazy personalities in the middle of it, and people like to argue over nuances. I just don't get into that. But I admire Luke and what he's doing. It's so cool to watch that. And
Mhm.
I look at those guys as being at this level, and I'm like, I don't even try to achieve. I'm just me. And so I don't worry. I love what other people are doing, and I compliment them in the middle of that. But heck, I just, got on one of Doug's things and did a private with him just to ask him questions, just to teach me more things. It was a while back, but I just listen to him all the time, and I just think he's a really neat guy. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. And, I love all of those kind of things that we're doing in our community. So,
Well, Steve, you have a lot of humility because you're fairly successful yourself as well. And I think there's so many people in our niche who can learn so much from you. So many people I talk to all the time who are just getting started, having some of those early challenges early on, like churning clients. And I think there's so much they can learn from you. So hopefully they start reaching out to you more in the community.
yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Talking about this book. So shiny object, dog with a bone, had an idea, had an itch to scratch, it sounds like. Why the book? I mean, you didn't need to do the book to grow your business. You already had a successful business, and you had other means that are much easier to get clients. So why bother with the book?
I legacy.
Yeah.
Legacy.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted my thoughts out there, you know. I wanted, this has been my thing for so many years. And after I'll have friends read the book that are actually clients, and they're like, "Hey, this is the stuff you've told me since we've started." I go, "Exactly. Nothing's changed." And they always say, "And it's like when I'm reading your book, I can hear your voice in my mind." So I think that's really cool because I've just reiterated these same things. I've said the same things over and over and over again. And also, Lawrence, a couple of thoughts. So both my parents died at a very young age, and they didn't take care of themselves. And so for me, I'm like, man, life is so precious. It's just so precious. And I want people to, I want them to live a stronger, healthier life. I want them to, my grandson is upstairs with my wife right now. I want people to enjoy their grandchildren. I want people to live a great life, to enjoy their life. I want the world to be a better place. And I think this is a way to do it. And just to show people, hey, listen, you don't have to torture yourself in the gym for hours at a time. You use this for what it's worth. You go in, do a couple of short, high intensity workouts per week. You move on, you have better relationships in the middle of that. If people want to go to the gym and that's their social life, hey, great, go enjoy that. But for me, the gym has a purpose. It's a sacred place. It's a holy ground. I go in, I get my workout in, but I'm focused on what I'm doing. If I can't get into my gym, I'll go to one of the local gyms. I'll put my hoodie up. That means don't talk to me because I'm in here for a purpose. Everyone still talks to me, and so I quit going to the local gym. Every single, I'll be in there like, hey, my shoulder hurts, and then I can't help myself to not help them in the middle of that. So I'm like, I can't do that anymore. I have to, but yeah, the whole idea is I want people to be better in life. I want everyone to be better in life. And life, one of the things that I write about, one of the things that we're fighting in our world is life is hard for people. It's very hard. And there's a lot of hopelessness. And I want to give people hope. We always want comfort in our life, and our lives aren't going to be comfortable all the time. They're going to be challenging. But in the middle of that, you can separate that and you can find things that feed your soul. For me, a good workout, I always end my podcast with these three things that I tell people. I end it, if we remember, I'll end it today, but exercise is medicine. And it's medicine in so many different ways. And so I love going to the gym, and I use my high intensity training, not just for muscle, but I use it to be able to still train jujitsu. I got one of our guys, he's a guy that I trained with, and he's always sending me messages. My son and I, he's always talking trash on me. "Old man, when I see you in the gym, I'm going to put it on you." I'm like, "Bro, you've been trying to put it on me for 30 years. You still ain't." I mean, so that's fun to me. It creates a great community. And so I'm able to do things, and I'm able to, teach people. I was with a big group of jujitsu guys, and I'm listening to them and how they train, Lawrence, outside of the gym. And I'm like, oh my, and I brought 5 books with me. So I signed
Nice.
those books and I gave them to those guys. I go, guys, you guys are chronically overtraining, and
Yeah.
you're at 45 years old and you're going to fall apart in the middle
Well,
of
if
this.
obviously we mentioned one of them was a previous special operations, and they're very known for that, aren't they? Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a
Absolutely. And
guy
so,
actually who joined our community who is a former special operations. Like, hopefully, you won't mind me saying this. I keep him anonymous, but he did 18 deployments, and his whole thing now is rebuilding. He's like, my body is so damaged from all the tours and all the deployments that I am now on a mission to rebuild my body and help others do the same. Right. So he's just getting
no,
started in all this.
And Lawrence, that's the one thing I see. I would go to places and I would say, this is how we do it. And some people just couldn't grasp the concept of a short workout. They just couldn't. But at the same time, they'd come up to me after. It's like, yeah, my elbow, it only moves this far. What do I do? I'm like, well, you can do some time static contraction training in the middle of that. But it's from that chronic overuse stuff. And so when you look at it from a branding point of view, when you look at it from a business point of view, I just take people and say, listen, you're not going to get better. if you keep doing what you're doing. We might be able to make some progress using this approach. That gets people to look at you from an online perspective, and it also gets people to look at you from an in-person perspective, because a lot of people, Lawrence, have given up on training because of the injuries. They go to the local whatever Planet, whatever it is nowadays, and they're outside flipping tires at 55 years old. I'm like, what are you going to try and work in a tire shop? What's the point of that? It makes no sense. And then you come up with these injuries based on this ballistic movement. And I've been a little more, not aggressive, but a little more assertive in speaking out against those things and just saying, guys, this is not going to, once again, there are people who can get away with it, but most people can't. The average person can, and that's who we're working with. We're working with average people, office workers. I work with a lot of doctors, CEOs. I have a lot of corporate people that I work with that run businesses. And Lawrence, a lot of times with those people, it's an online workout. Hey, I got a meeting in 10 minutes. Let's do a 10-minute workout. We get that done. So yeah.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about the actual process. So when did you get started with the book? How long did it take? What was the process? What was the routine like each day?
So what I do is I'm always gathering information and thinking about things, and I'll write them down. I call them buckets. Like I'll go outside, and when I tell people to take a walk, I always tell them, but don't just take a walk. I say, go out. I want you to look at this beautiful creation in which we live. And if you see a tree, or you see a plant blooming flowers, I want you to stop and take a picture of that and put it in your bucket. And I always put things in buckets. And then when I need them, I pull them out of the buckets. So I might take a picture. I took a picture of this beautiful plant. It was purple. I'll preach that somehow, some way. That'll fit into a sermon like I just did right there. I'll use that. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm always using those things. And so for me, I do the same thing. I want to educate my clients. And so what I do is I'll put things in buckets, but I'll also start putting that together. And that's where the book kind of came from. Lawrence, I literally do not remember even starting this thing. I just start putting things together.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, let me put this in order and see what happens. And then I start putting things in a logical order, and at least in the way that my brain works. And then, like I said, I had it, I was just going to release it to my crew and just say, hey guys, here's all of what I do. And, but when you put it in a book form and you put it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or whatever, people then like, oh man, I'm like, I've been doing this stuff for years with not a big response. I put this thing on Amazon, and then you're not self-publishing too. You have a publisher, which kind of gives
More
you another
prestigious and
yeah. And so what the publisher told me was, he goes, when we release this, I want you to sit by your computer. And he said, and I want you to answer every question. I was literally by my computer for 6 straight hours, just answering questions and,
answering questions. How, from who, how?
just
What do
from
you mean?
people who had bought the book, or,
Or
commenting
like
on what.
emailing you, or
No, on a
go ahead.
public Facebook page.
Okay.
And they would say, hey, I got the book. And I'm like, hey, great. Thank you for your support, that kind of stuff.
So hang on, you're on a
things like-
public Facebook page, and it's
yeah.
just
And I'm,
comment after comment, and you're just replying, and you were there for 6 hours doing that.
I was for 6 hours, private messages, texts.
Got
And I
it.
just thought, yeah. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy, And so, and then people would ask, hey, can you sign my book? I'm like, is that a thing? Because I didn't really think it was a thing. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. And I was kind of embarrassed, honestly, about that. It's kind of still embarrasses me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, but I do it. And like I said, I have a line that somebody took after a speech that is long, where people are waiting in line, and I'm blown away. But I'm thinking to myself, I will stay here all day long to honor these people who've taken their time. And I got to, just you get to talk to people in the middle of that and answer their questions and kind of steer them in the right direction. So the idea of a book, it's kind of my life, my life story is, I just kind of see if there's a wave, and then I try to ride that wave, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. And
And
I
that wave could be what? Not just like a trend, but inspiration as well, or
Yeah,
like
yeah, just anything that kinda like, okay, so I'll give you here's where my
yeah.
mind is right now. I would love this is
Here
the
we go.
shiny object. So here's what I would love to do. I wanna rebrand all of my social media to make it consistent. Maybe it's my name, maybe it's the Gospel of Fitness, whatever, but I wanna make it consistent. And then what I would do, I would love to put together an online course, and the online course would be the book, but it would be an online course of me doing the exercises, showing how it actually works, me going through every single exercise and explaining exactly what I do, where people could purchase that course and download it. Obviously, the price point would be higher, but then they would have a visual for people who are more visual learning. I would have that book in that particular downloaded thing, and then they could just not only could they read the book, but they could hear the book explained, and they could see a workout in action. They could see every nuance of every exercise, because as I said before, every exercise has a little tweak to make it harder or make it more efficient. Does all that make sense, Lawrence, or am I out
Yeah,
there in
I'm
shiny
taking notes like crazy. Yeah, go on.
am I
Yeah.
out in shiny object
No,
land?
this is great. Well, like you are, but that's fine because that's who you
That's
are, and
just
it
who
seems to work. But yeah,
it's yeah, so
yeah,
that's what I'm thinking at this point, and then I could put that on my website as a, but once again, and we're gonna see what happens with that. I don't know
mm,
if I've done this already with I have a 15-minute high intensity jujitsu workout that I sell on my son's site. All the same stuff, the same workouts, everything's the same
sure.
because a
Yeah,
trained muscle's a trained muscle. But with the idea, so that's what I'm thinking at this point, and that's just a matter of
yeah.
time. I have a videographer who could do all those things I could do at my gym. I just have to set some time away to do those. Do you think that would be a good idea, or am
I
I
do. You and I need to talk about this offline. But
okay?
firstly, social media should definitely be your name, in my opinion.
Okay.
Just Steve McKinney,
I'm writing it
and
down, Lawrence.
do it. And your online course should be on School, and we'll talk about that separately because you could use School to unify everything you do in one place, and then have obviously our community, so you can have the community there of all your prospects and clients mingling, sharing, helping one another. You can have the classroom for online courses, all right, for on-demand stuff, and you could sell things through there as well, sell your services. And you can have a calendar for like calls you do, Q&As for the group, like we do, just like we do, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it can also serve as a wonderful way to provide value, a lot of value for free or for very little, and generate leads that you can then capture emails as well to then obviously promote your personal training services to as well. So it's the whole thing in one. It's like it's unifying everything you do in one place. So there's one
And
idea.
I love it. No, and here's the thing with you. You're a more detailed person. I'm a visionary. And so I'm just throwing good things out there in vision. I can't do the details. What you just told me, if I did my heart rate right now, it would have raised. That stresses me out. I'm like, oh,
Oh, really?
that's so much
Yeah, yeah,
detail for
yeah,
me.
yeah.
But if I get somebody behind the scenes that can help me with that, that might be a benefit to me. And just
Yeah,
kind of,
sure.
I had a guy, but he kind of went away. But yeah,
That
I
was the
think
guy helping you with your website stuff, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So,
Okay.
but
Cool.
yeah, he was always super helpful in putting things in a, I just throw a vision out there. I do
Yeah.
that with everything. I'm a just more big vision person than a
Yeah,
detailed
I mean,
person.
look, that's on me as well. I'll simplify it down for you offline we'll talk in the chat and give you some ideas that are kind of like easy to conceptualize.
Love it.
Um, Steve, just I guess like, one other thing then. So listening to you, it doesn't sound like the book was, people say writing a book is like the most horrible thing in the world. When you listen to authors or writers who write many books, they always talk about how it's such a painful process. But listening to you doesn't sound that way.
No,
And yeah, so
no,
how
I
long
write,
from start to finish, roughly?
I, Lawrence, I write sermons every week.
Right.
Every week, I start with a blank sheet of paper. I can do this. This is my thing. I can do this. I'm
Yeah.
super creative. I tell stories. And once again, not trying to bag. This is just what I'm good at.
Mm.
And so with the book, I actually have had a publisher reach out to me, another publisher, asking would I want to do a second book. I got 4 books in my soul. I already know what I'm doing with that, but I want to teach in the second book. I want to teach people how to interpret your own data so you can become your own trainer and your own nutritionists in the middle of that. But I don't. If I do it, I want a good publisher. Not that the other they were small. I want to make it worth my while. So
Mhm.
so for me, it wouldn't be hard for me to do. I just it's just I just know this stuff. And I can just put it, together. I think I'm going to stay with that gospel of fitness brand because when I started it, somebody, obviously a church guy, so I'm very, I knew that would be a good place for me to start. And somebody said, "Hey, is it gospel or is it fitness?" And I go, "Yeah." So that's always my answer. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Do you,
that's
I mean, obviously it really resonates with people who are
people of faith, you mean?
people of faith. That's I was thinking of the right way to put it. People of faith. And it might would it repel people that are not? And would that be an
No,
ideal? No, it wouldn't?
no,
Okay.
it doesn't. And here's
Because
why.
I yeah, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go
No,
ahead.
no, no. You go, you go. There's nothing
Okay. So
interesting.
the title is very subversive, but Lawrence, with my faith, I don't force my faith on people.
Yeah.
When you read it, you're going to understand how I live. All I'm doing is showing people how I live my life. Peter Attia wrote the book Outlive. He's an anti-aging guy, and he had 4 pillars of fitness, and one of his pillars was having a spiritual life. And people can look at that any way that they want. And so for me, it's like this is what I do in my life. One of my big things is the secret of your success is in your daily routine. Every morning I wake up, I have a whole routine that I go through. And so, but it keeps me grounded. It keeps me centered on what's important. I'm around a lot of people who make a lot of money, but I've learned that that is not always that's not the most important thing for me. I value this. I value your relationship. I value this conversation. I value the people. I'm a relational person. I have people that I train. I have a guy with cancer. I'm like, man, come on in, let me help you. I don't even charge those people. So for me, I could do way better if I did things differently. But this is who I am, and
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I don't even know if I answered that question, but I was just kind of
I suddenly
going.
remember what the question is.
I don't either. I just got when you asked me something, I just start running with it.
You're
Well, oh, the
fine.
book. Was it hard to write the book? And no,
Yeah.
it wasn't. I could probably spit out another book. I shouldn't say that. I could probably write another book, a valuable book in 3 months.
I bet you
I could
could.
probably have that finished. I could probably do a course within a week, the course we talked about earlier. If I just sat down and focused on that, I would do it. Then I'd run off and I'd run out and do something else because I'm a shiny new object guy. But I'd come back. But if I set myself a goal, I'm very goal oriented, and
Yep.
I could fix those particular things. And so,
So
you know,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Steve, we're at time, but this has been so much fun as always. I really
Always
enjoy
love
your
it.
energy and chatting with you, and I'm so thrilled that this has been so successful for you, and I'm excited for all the media and PR stuff that's coming up for you, how that's going to benefit your business and your life and your brand. And I'm looking forward to see what comes next and to see the new books as well. So, if people want to get a copy of The Gospel of Fitness, it's on Amazon. It's
Amazon.
everywhere, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Yep.
Amazon's the easiest place to do it. I can actually track everything from there. It's on Barnes& and Noble. I don't even know what it does on Barnes, and once again, I'm, just not my thing. I just kinda like, hey,
Yeah.
they send you a royalties check, which sounds funny to me. I got one today. I'm like, "Yay, that's so cool." I'm not killing it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not making $1,000,000 off of it, but hey,
Yep.
it's worth it. And so, but once again, Lawrence, I really appreciate you. I appreciate you, all your community. Shout out to all the guys I mentioned earlier. So thankful for you guys in my life, and I admire you from afar. And so I really appreciate everything that everyone does. And I'm going to close with what I said earlier.
Yeah.
And this is what I always close with. I always look at exercise as medicine. So weight training is medicine for your body. Walking is medicine for your brain. And watching your diet is medicine for your biology. So take your medicine, do those things, treat your workouts as if they're doctor's visits, because if you do, you'll have less doctor's visits.
That's a great way of putting it. It's beautiful. Steve, thank you. And again, I just want to say, guys, pick up this book. It's great. The Gospel of Fitness, a rational approach to aging gracefully, available everywhere. 25 five-star reviews on Amazon.com and even 13 on Amazon.co.uk. Even the
I didn't
Brits
even
are,
know. I didn't even
yeah,
know that.
even
I
the
didn't.
Brits
That's
are
so
all over
funny.
this, Steve. Yeah, I'm not going to
I'm
check.
big. I'm big in India. I do a bunch of India podcasts. It'll be like I'm doing a
That's
5 a.m.
wild.
Yeah, so it's so crazy.
Yeah, awesome. We'll link it up as well on the blog post to this over at highintensitybusiness.com, episode 516. But yeah, Amazon, The Gospel of Fitness. Steve, thank you so much for your time. And thank you, everyone, for watching or listening. And we'll see you soon on the next episode. Thanks again.